7:45 now on our New Hampshire presidential primary coverage, and breaking news that we're following now out of Merrimack, New Hampshire. Now that's in the southern part of the state, in between Nashua and Manchester. They're keeping the polls open here because there are too many voters, and what the reason is, and you can see the traffic is lined up, presumably for people to go to the high school and vote, and we showed you the lines a moment ago, and here are those lines once again from the helicopter shot of people waiting to vote in Merrimack. Now what exactly the problem is, we don't know yet, but we do know they have decided to keep open the polls to let people vote. And Merrimack, as I joined in the coverage with Jesse Mermel, our Democratic analyst, and Republican Jeff Simone, Merrimack is a somewhat of a bellwether community. We know that they pretty much in the last 2 to 3 elections have gone the way the state has gone, along with Laconia and Rochester. This is a town that's very mixed. They've got a Budweiser plant there. They've got Fidelity offices there, so you get a real cross-section socioeconomically. So any sense further what this might tell us at all about what's going on?
Yeah, we're about 15 minutes away from the polls closing statewide, and you saw the line, you saw the traffic out there. That's astounding. And with after the results in Iowa and coin flips and things like that, Hillary Clinton cannot afford to have there be even a suspicion of doubt over what these poll numbers are, what the actual results are going to be. These folks have been waiting online clearly for a long time. So I think it's going to be one of these things where she can't afford to have rumors around this after the polls close tonight.
I think it's a little bit of a leap to go from long lines and traffic to rumors about Hillary Clinton. You know, the Manchester Union leader posted a picture from this morning of long lines of traffic going to this exact same polling place. So this has been something going on all day. I think that, you know, I have to hypothesize that there might be some problem going on at the polling place, because you've seen huge turnout throughout New Hampshire, and yet we aren't seeing any sort of backup like this. So my guess would be there's some sort of glitch at this specific polling place, but I'm assuming we're going to know more as the night goes on.
We'll find out from the town clerk at Merrimack what's going on. They're pretty vigorous about inspecting the polls. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office has gone around the entire state and does every presidential primary to check on voting irregularities and all those sorts of things. So we'll find out what's going on there. But picking up the conversation about the Republican race, all right, and let's just presume that most of Donald Trump's support sticks that we're seeing in the polls. It becomes a battle for second, third, and fourth. What's your sense? We were talking about John Kasich earlier. You feel that Ted Cruz is going to make a strong showing tonight, Jeff?
Yeah, Ted Cruz has a phenomenal ground game. We saw it in Iowa. It does translate to New Hampshire, even though the electorate is made up of a different groups of people. I think the interesting battle, honestly, for me, is going to be for 5th place between Bush, Christie, possibly Carson. I mean, Chris Christie, if you take it, Trump, Rubio, Kasich, top 3, Cruz, Bush, 4 and 5, that leaves Chris Christie in 6th place. Where does Chris Christie go if he doesn't beat Jeb Bush in this race? And he goes home. So for all of his talk
with all that money, does he go home, or does he step in for a while?
This battle for 5th and 6th place, like I said in the earlier segment, this race is going to go into the spring. So, you know, right now we're lining up between the non-Trump, non-Cruz, quote-unquote, establishment candidate. So that's a little bit more interesting than maybe who comes out on top tonight. And whether it's Christie or Bush in those positions, if it's the high single digits or low teens, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens tonight.
All right, let's take a look at some numbers now, and this is the breakdown of voters in New Hampshire, Republicans versus Democrats versus undeclared. And so famously in New Hampshire, there are a lot of undeclared voters. The numbers have really increased since the last election cycle in 2012. Now, we've kept off the raw numbers, but look at the undeclared, that bottom line right there, from 38% of the voters in 2012 to now 44%, up 6 percentage points. And you can see the number of registered Republicans and registered Democrats have both fallen by 3%. So these are the kinds of things you think would help somebody like Donald Trump, and perhaps somebody also like Bernie Sanders. What's your sense?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's interesting to note that the 2012 number was pretty big, and now it's just gotten larger. So this isn't something that's new. It's just something that's grown over the past few years. This sense of dissatisfaction with, to use your word, establishment politicians, whether they're Democratic or Republican. You would assume it bodes well for Trump or Bernie, but as we've talked about, those undeclareds can pull either ballot. They can't pick both. So they're going to have to make a choice today, and we'll be watching closely to see where they go.
And what they have to do is they have to remember to then go back to undeclared before they leave the polls, because if they don't, then next time they'll be either a Republican or a Democrat, and they'll have to take that ballot. All right, Jeff, what did you have to say?
Well, I said back to the earlier statistics you showed up with the anger about Washington. I mean, I think that translates into the people who were registered under certain parties. If you're upset with the way the direction Washington is going, you're probably going to unenroll from any specific party, and I think that probably drives a lot of it.
All right, younger voters, let's talk for just a moment about younger voters and Bernie Sanders. And we've seen candidates like him in the past, whether it's Howard Dean, Eugene McCarthy, Bill Bradley. They had this, younger voters. We said the younger voters are going to come out, and then they don't come out. So what's different this time around with Bernie Sanders?
Well, we'll see today what's different with Bernie Sanders. There are major college towns in New Hampshire. There were big college towns in Iowa, too. This is part of what's interesting about turnout in New Hampshire. It's not just what turnout is around the whole state. It's about pockets. But to your point about the youth vote, I think that young people have always been drawn to what they see as being authenticity. And, Bernie Sanders likes to convey the fact that he's speaking truth to power. The question is whether or not that's something that will carry him to a national nomination, particularly as you get to more diverse states like we see coming with South Carolina and Nevada. Even the youth population in New Hampshire isn't exactly representative, and in Iowa, of what we have in the rest of the country. So clearly young people here love him. We'll see if they turn out and actually cast a ballot in other states.
We'll see how he does going forward. All right, we're going to continue to be right here with you, Christy and Brian, throughout the evening.
All right, guys, thank you very much. And of course, we are staying on top of some of these polling issues that we have. Of course, we've been looking above the scene in Maryland.